So the objective is to change the standard for lying and dishonesty and deceit and deception, because it erodes trust. And if you can't trust what somebody says and they're in positions like a property manager or a principal or a doctor or administrative manager who claims to be devastatingly sorry for the events that happened, but your apology means nothing, just do what you said you were going to do, and then all of a sudden they disappear. That's not an appropriate behavior. You're going to have to face what you said and did, and maybe we can actually have some real change, because these are fleeting moments in life. The trauma that they create last a lifetime. What I learned from Neptune's previous family lasts into future generations. I don't want a bunch of adult predators raising little kid predators to become adult predators. Do you? This is why rape culture starts and ends with the very people who claim to have a standard, but in actuality, they do not. And I was in their midst for 6 years, listening to the contradiction, watching their nonverbal reactions, and kind of automatically recording how they address certain issues and how they think. Because that's the problem. Their thinking is really weird. When my ex-husband started emailing me, oh my goodness, with his false narrative, I think he was trying to create a paper trail, and it just resulted in me not being able to check email for a long time. So I created other email accounts so I wouldn't have to be around that. Everything I learned from 2 years of managing chronic pain before I was stabbed in front of that security guard, in front of that teacher, in front of that parent who did literally nothing, and then their names ended up on a list to testify. I spent 1 year, 11 months managing the chronic pain caused by the assault at my workplace, 7 total. For over 2 years, this person stayed in my house saving his money, and I can start putting together that timeline for the police investigation, because in addition to name, birthday, the cops want all the information because they've already informed me that they don't really investigate these things. Good to know as we try to figure out a better system to help survivors and victims of violence. I'm using everything I learned from managing chronic pain, adapting to the symptoms of nerve radiculopathy, increased fatigue, lack of stamina, not being able to pick up my head, as well as completely losing my voice, which I think was heaven sent, just because as I'm not able to talk to this person talking to me, oh my goodness, I think he thought he broke me. Like so many people in this story, we can hear you, when they're muttering under their breath and emoting. My lord, what is going on with you? That's why I'm an expert in mental health and the instability of others, the PTSD triggers of people when they can't STF you. Moving on. So let's get back to the timeline. 2 years, I've learned to manage chronic pain. So when I say the origin of PTSD was from a stabbing, that's because it was the 3rd injury that week. That's a lot considering 7 injuries over the course of 10 months. Actually 8 months. I forgot a school year isn't a full year, which reminds me of one of the CPS lawyers who couldn't quite get exactly how to add the timetable up when we're trying to calculate just how many days I should be given back because I'm told I'm going to be made whole. That means my time off work and my medical expenses. But as things kept adding up, it got clearer and clearer. CPS was not interested in that. And the CTU, well, let's just say they folded pretty quick.
So how's your marriage?
How often do you have sex?
Almost never.
Flow is the intro, my first focus, Shinto, a spiritual search and infinitive, a collision at birth, what an impactful narrative. Thoughts must evolve, how to solve a 3D question with no solution, sightless pollution, no sides, no way to define or override. That draining of pride once removed from the inside of history or lack of connection, the mystery when it's the easiest to be drawn. An artistic resurgence, an ancient anecdotal song, dirges, emerges, adding it up. Blocking off that total against net and what's gross. Those who boast have the most to lose. They coast. That predictable collision. Deceit done with precision.
2 of them happened in front of grown-ups. One, the assistant principal, when the student kicked my face and pulled my hair. And the one that created the PTSD, a stabbing in front of security, a teacher, a parent, and obviously the student who was now wide-eyed with curiosity. Because this behavior was well known to the teacher, who shared the anxiety rising, which led her to remove all of the scissors, pencils, and crayons from the desk, and also shared her documentation with me. This being the visual image when in PT, a therapist threw a foam ball at my face, and not only did I see my ex-husband, then husband, throwing things at my face in his manufactured temper tantrum, because oftentimes he checked what he was throwing, if it was like a bottle full of liquid or not. He didn't want to harm me. He was just trying to create fear. This being the strategy of someone who's stuck in a situation which they created when they came into my home under false pretenses, because in his last session of therapy, you know what? I'm going to describe this later, but the point is you keep repeating it. What do you think PTSD, but is the memories on replay until you realize there's a purpose for them, to say them aloud and to basically put the PTSD back on the people who created it. So this security guard's name ended up being on a list to testify against me. And that's when I started to realize, oh, lying is their strategy. So now I'm aware of lying. So now I'm dealing with psychologists, doctors, specialists, lawyers, the knowledge that people can lie. With this information, I just posted something on this site about the words of except of course the discussion about the wedding. That's where we'll start, because the bachelors and the bachelorettes are going to tell this story. That being everything stated about what the purpose of a wedding is, and what the purpose of kids are, which brings us back to year one when I met this guy with the cat that told me that he didn't want to be loved for his money, and that he thought that when people got married and had kids, the husband kind of goes into the background. Bravo. I unlocked the identity of teacher months or possibly years ago, meaning that I can comfortably talk about this. But as I create what I like to call my third and final curriculum, I didn't realize the next identity that I was going to have to share was wife and then ex-wife. All right? Because the words are, my family doesn't believe in divorce. In fact, he didn't ask me for a divorce. He asked it for a downgrade. He's trying to figure out the narrative that he's going to be able to tell his family so there's no question, since the last session of therapy will be written in a new space, starting with the words, my parents forced me to marry you. Then why are you in my house? I guess it was to take the cat away. So I've tried to explain this whole wedding thing now in 5 voice memos, ranging from 4 minutes to 7 minutes, and that's much too much time. So we're going to try it again, and you just keep doing it over and over and over. Opportunities for me to share what I'm thinking in these digital spaces, to utilize those spaces until I found applications like Twitter and Tumblr and Instagram that has limited characters, and then finally LinkedIn that has just okay character. But that's okay, it's all practice and how to edit this stuff, because you can let it out, but it just keeps going, and it's verbose, and it's constant, and well, it's trauma. It's how trauma looks, it's how trauma sounds, it's how trauma feels. How do you make something so abstract and individualized concrete so others can understand? I don't know, but I'm gonna try, and I think it is effective because I do get feedback here and there. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So this wedding, let's start with this wedding and how I planned a small family wedding, and how I found out that you need to have at least 2 people to protect predatory behavior, because one has to do it, the predatory behavior, and then the other has to actually okay it. It emboldens you to do more, which is similar to being assaulted in 2012-2013 school year, and then when there's no consequence for that principal, administration, and teacher, they felt emboldened to do worse. As a special educator wondering, well, don't they know the law? They are the principal, they are the administration, they are the teachers, they should know this. I'm wondering what they're missing here, not even thinking that they had a very structured plan to deny, violate, humiliate, and discriminate against kids with special needs. Never even thinking that was a possibility because of their titles and the positions that they took and the words that they used. But now that I understand that, it makes things so much easier, because you have to see it from their perspective. So I'm going to use their words, and we'll start with 2 weddings. A wedding I was in and a wedding that I threw. In the last session of his therapy, he admitted he never wanted to marry me. Someone told him no because he didn't want to take care of a disabled wife. So that's what's creating all this discord in our house. But you never had to be here, so there must have been another purpose. And the purpose, I think, was to take your cat away. All right, let's get started. If they remember me, they'll remember that I'm very vocal and I don't take any riffraff. So hopefully they make the right choice and not identify themselves, because we can have our conversation where we picked up, where we left off, and that's fine, because I shared openly what was happening in my house with these people to tell them to get him help and get my property back.
Using this monster to help other people. Road, Alfred. I'm getting lost inside this monster of yours.
the bridge back to the words that he used. I know you more than you know yourself. Okay, thanks for the clues. I get it, and now you don't know me at all, because I know technology, and I will talk as a survivor victim. Thank you.